All right, let's talk about something that's got Cowboys Nation buzzing. Dez Bryant, yes, that Dez Bryant, just dropped a bold statement about Shedeur Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys. He said he's got a feeling that Shedeur might end up in Dallas. No sources, no reports, just a feeling. Now, if you're like me, you're probably asking, where did this even come from? What does Dez know that we don't? Or is this just another wild claim from a former player looking to stir the pot? But before we dive into all that, let's take a step back. If there's one thing we know about Dez Bryant, it's that he's always had a voice that resonates with Cowboys fans. He was one of the most electrifying wide receivers to ever wear the star, and when he speaks, people listen. That's exactly why his tweet about Shedeur Sanders exploded online. So here's the real question. Is there actually something to this? Or is it just another off-season headline designed to get the fan base talking? I want to hear from you. Do you think Dez is onto something here? Or is this just speculation with no real basis? Drop a comment below and let's see where Cowboys Nation stands on this. And stick with me, because next we're breaking down whether Shedeur Sanders actually makes sense for the Cowboys or if this idea falls apart the moment you apply a little logic. All right, let's put emotions aside and talk facts. Could Shedeur Sanders actually be the future quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys? First, let's break down what Shedeur brings to the table. The kid has talent, no doubt about it. He's been putting up impressive numbers at Colorado under his father, Deion Sanders. He's got a strong arm, good pocket presence, and the kind of leadership that teams look for in a franchise quarterback. But here's the thing. Talent alone doesn't mean he's a fit for the Cowboys. Right now, Dallas has their quarterback. Whether you love Dak Prescott or not, the reality is he's under contract, and the team is still trying to win with him. Jerry Jones has repeatedly backed Dak as the guy, and unless something major changes, the Cowboys aren't in the market for a starting QB just yet. Then there's the draft situation. Shedeur Sanders is projected to be a first-round pick when he declares for the NFL. That means any team wanting him will likely have to invest serious draft capital. The Cowboys already have roster needs at other key positions: offensive line, defensive line, even wide receiver. Does it really make sense for them to use a premium pick on a quarterback when they still have Dak? Let's be real. Dallas isn't the kind of team that spends a first-round pick on a backup QB, and unless Dak's future with the team takes a dramatic turn, Shedeur landing in Dallas just doesn't add up. But what do you think? If the Cowboys decide to invest in their future at quarterback, should Shedeur be the guy? Vote in the poll, and let's see where the fan base stands. Next up, let's talk about Dez Bryant himself. Is he really pushing this idea because he believes it? Or is there another motive behind his tweet? Stick around. Let's talk about Dez Bryant for a second. We all know he was a phenomenal player for the Cowboys, a true fan favorite. But when it comes to his recent comments, we have to ask, is Dez really on to something, or is he just stirring the pot for engagement? Look, former players have a lot of influence, especially when they talk about their old teams. When Dez speaks about the Cowboys, people listen. His name carries weight in the fan base, and he knows that. So when he tweeted about Shedeur Sanders possibly being a Cowboy, it instantly blew up. But was it based on any inside information, or was he just throwing something out there to get people talking? This isn't the first time an ex-Cowboy has made headlines with a bold claim. Remember Cole Beasley? He had his fair share of controversial takes after leaving Dallas. Other former players have also made comments that seemed more about getting a reaction than actually being grounded in reality. And let's not ignore the timing. When a former player drops a hot take, there's usually a reason behind it. Maybe Dez has a project coming up, maybe he just wanted a little extra attention on social media. Either way, the reality is that a single tweet from him sent fans into a frenzy, arguing about something that, in all likelihood, isn't even on the Cowboys' radar. But here's the real question. Do you think former players like Dez help or hurt the fan base when they make these kinds of statements? Do they add to the conversation, or are they just making things more confusing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to see where you stand on this. Now, let's shift the focus back to the Cowboys. If Shedeur Sanders isn't the guy, then what is the team's actual plan at quarterback? Let's get into it. All right, so we've established that Dez's tweet stirred the pot. But the real question is, what's the Cowboys' actual plan for the quarterback position in the future? Is Shedeur Sanders even on the radar, or is this just a hypothetical situation sparked by a tweet? Let's break it down. Historically, the Cowboys don't tend to make rash moves at quarterback. They've stuck with Dak Prescott for a reason. His contract situation may seem complicated at times, but he's still the guy under center. Dallas has invested heavily in Dak, and unless something major happens, like a dramatic collapse or injury, it's hard to see them just pulling the trigger on a new QB of the future. Now, when we talk about the Cowboys potentially drafting a QB, what does that really look like? Dallas has been pretty clear in their past draft strategies. They usually go for the best player available, but not always the flashiest. They value stability, experience, and the right system fit. So, would Shedeur Sanders fit the Cowboys' typical mold? Maybe, but that's a stretch for 2024. Let's take a look at some other names that could make sense. You've got Quinn Ewers, who's already on the radar as a potential future star. And then there's Arch Manning, who could definitely be a big-ticket QB for the Cowboys if the timing works out. But again, these are names for the future, not necessarily for 2024. Now, what about the financial side of things? Investing in a rookie QB comes with a lot of risk, especially when you've already got a guy like Dak Prescott. The Cowboys would have to weigh the financial implications of drafting a QB, paying a rookie while still having a high-paid starter. Does it make sense for Dallas to risk their long-term financial stability for an unproven player at such a crucial position? Probably not. But let's hear from you. If you had to choose the future QB of the Cowboys, who would it be? Leave your answer in the comments below, and let's see who the real future of the Cowboys' quarterback position is in your eyes. All right, now that we've covered the QB situation, let's tie everything together and wrap this up. What does all this mean for the Cowboys' future? Stay tuned for the final thoughts. So after all this talk about Dez Bryant's tweet and the possibility of Shedeur Sanders joining the Cowboys, what do we really know? Well, it's clear that this whole situation is more speculation than reality. Shedeur Sanders is an intriguing prospect, no doubt, but he's simply not the right fit for the Cowboys in the near future. Dallas has Dak Prescott, and while there's always room for discussion about the future, it's hard to see them making such a drastic move, especially with Dak still in his prime and under contract. The Cowboys' decision-making tends to be calculated, and it's highly unlikely they're going to blow a first-round pick on a quarterback this year, especially one that's still developing like Sanders. What we've learned is that Dez Bryant, as much as we respect his legacy, might just be chasing attention with bold statements like these. And while it can be fun to speculate and dream about different futures for the Cowboys, the reality is that we need to stay grounded. Speculation can only get us so far before it starts muddying the waters with unrealistic expectations. It's important for us as fans to filter out the noise and focus on what's happening on the field. The Cowboys have their eyes set on a Super Bowl, and that means making smart, strategic decisions. They have a talented roster, and while they may be looking at the future, there's no rush to push Dak aside just yet. But here's the big question for you. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders a future Cowboy, or is this all just a bunch of noise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more Cowboys content. And with that, let's close it out the right way. How about them Cowboys?